Serious, what made you lose complete respect of a teacher in school? One teacher I had was super laid back about his class, and he'd let us just do whatever if we finished our work early. He never taught us anything, just toss assignments at us and leave the room. One project we had required us to form groups and build a mini roller coaster out of cardboard. Someone tore apart my group's project the day before it was due, so my group asked the teacher if he could help us in some way. He said, "Oh, well, I can't help you. Just tear apart another group's project apart and use their project." We ended up rebuilding that project in one day and getting a decent grade, but he didn't get in trouble for what he said as far as I know. Thankfully, I don't have his class for the rest of my education. I was basically bullied and got zero respect from her, and when I was having a hard time comprehending stuff when one of my friends was put in the hospital after a suicide attempt, I was treated like a baby. My teacher decided to act like a guidance counselor and make everything worse. Meanwhile, all of the other kids in the class could break and bring in whatever they wanted all year. My other teacher didn't understand the concept of punishing children, but complained about how awful she is treated by them. We baked some stuff in class, and she smashed my cake that I was super proud of instead of letting think about what to do with it after class. Hasn't been nice since. One of my coworkers in a biology class made me lose respect for her when I listened to her make a 10-minute presentation to 14 and 15-year-olds about how marijuana eats holes in your brain. I was just disgusted by her after this. Maybe you think I should have corrected her or confronted her, but in the real world, you can't do things like tell people they are wrong without consequences. Whenever my students ask me about marijuana or talk about it, I'm very upfront with them and tell them that if they are going to use it, that they should wait until their bodies stop growing and move someplace where it's legal so they don't ruin their futures. College chemistry professor. He would preach Christianity in class, saying things like the existence of chirality proves the existence of Jesus, and that atheists were ignoring all of the proof. He would go on for 10 minutes at a time during lecture about it a couple times a month. He'd also go to the school's atheist club and ridicule the members, not just debating but insulting people. But the final straw was when he saw me in the club and started marking down all my work. I compared lab reports with my partner a couple times and made sure we had all the same answers, and I got C's while they got A's. At my old school there was this one Spanish teacher who treated students etc. Multiple times they would say, "Can someone get a rope so I can hang student name? If someone talks I will let the rest kick on you in the corridor. If someone talks I will hang them, kick them out the window, and glare at you student. Can we get our grades? Teacher, you think you got one?" And they would say students' scores out loud sometimes. Sure, it might have been jokes, but the student name person started to go on medication because of the teacher. A teacher who was supposed to help with my learning disability accommodations making fun of in front of several of my peers, and then later telling me to shut my trap as I was crying in another room in front of another teacher. Didn't speak to her for the rest of the year and graduated. She also told me I was better off going to community college because I wasn't that smart, in nice words. Guess who just graduated in the top 20, class president, and is going to graduate school? When she specifically asked me after midterms if I had failed, I hadn't, because sometimes I seem too inattentive, non-serious. I scored 95% plus in that subject in finals. I had one of those. She said no one would score above 40 and 60 was the highest in the state. I got 99. I told her I'd get 100, but there was a question with two correct answers. Technically the question lacked context and I must have guessed the wrong one. By the time I graduated I lost respect for almost everyone in my school. I'll give reasons for 3. 1. Principal spent an assembly hour talking about her great grandfather's prize-winning cow goat. 2. Vice principal ignored any school issues because his daughter didn't complain about it and therefore it didn't exist. 3. Mrs. Old Lady refused to pronounce names of colored students correctly, even if she was corrected. I asked an English teacher what a bunch of farmers would get out of Shakespeare. She sort of short-circuited and just kind of got angry at me. Took me a while to realize it was a different culture back then, but the way modern literature evaluation is structured, it doesn't really matter about the content of the texts, it's just what you can make up about them. I don't get it. Why wouldn't a bunch of farmers get something out of Shakespeare? In programming CAsh we had this one student who already knew CAsh, and when he tried to correct the teacher she got mad at him and told him he's wrong. Also during a test she moved him from the table he was sitting at even though he was alone, and made him sit next to me because she didn't want him to cheat. She asked me once if I needed extra help even though my average grade is at 86/100. I moved schools from 6th grade to 7th grade because my parents didn't like the high school I would go to in the middle of 7th grade. I learned from a friend that a special ed teacher recently got caught molesting one of his female students. Not exactly sure what happened to him. Last I heard he was getting prison time. I never met the guy, luckily. When I was taking my last year of my auto body apprenticeship and accidentally showed up both painting instructors by hand mixing an interior trim color and they were so mad they tried to fail me. The jusk was on them in the end because they both got reprimanded and I scored a 95% on my final to offset their attempts. I think it was 1st or 2nd grade. Had a teacher put pieces of duct tape on the carpet if you were a bad kid. Then I realized all the boys in the class had assigned seating and none of the chicks. Yep, the school system has neglected young men for a while now. I remember it myself. She had a lesson with us, and at the same time the class had to go to a group photoing because it was last year in that school. Anyway, the teacher came in yelling, "What the F is so important about a photo? You are all gonna get punishment." Classmaster explained her the situation, but she was still mad till the end of the year. I didn't attend school for a couple of days because my grandma just died, and when I came back, my history teacher approached me and asked why I wasn't in class. I told him what happened, and he had the audacity to joke about my grandma's passing. He is terrible. I never liked him. We were supposed to make a sandwich in Photoshop to teach us layering. Since I already knew Photoshop, I goofed around and put some bolts, metal gears, etc. in the sandwich cause she told us to be creative. She counted off 10 points and said not what I expected. My teacher once got me and a friend out of the room and screamed at us, "You sit here on your lazy butts," translated from German. We were talking about the homework we had to correct with our seat neighbor. Oh, I see. Another story about teachers from Germany. I feel you, mate. She got dismissed because she was grooming middle school girls and trying to prey on them. I should have known it was suspicious when she told us she could only get work in a school district 2 hours away from where she lived. She was one of my favorite teachers too. In a math class, I have to correct this professor because he said explained wrong on the board. He didn't take it easy and said in our language, "You son of a BTCH." The profanity was acceptable, but the incompetence was not. 1. If you're still playing video games at 30 years old, then you're a loser too. Different teacher takes half of class to call on me and only gives half an answer. 5 minutes later scolds me for asking my friend for help on a question. When my 2nd grade teacher lied to another teacher about sending me to the bathroom to retrieve students who had been in there too long. Also, when my 8th grade Spanish teacher tried to give students detention for using the bathroom. Teacher kept using a derogatory term to refer to Jews, went on a rant about how homosexuality is wrong, and used the N-word while teaching us about African tribes. She's a culture history teacher. My science teacher would, if someone didn't hear, ask if they had a hearing problem. 1. A kid at that school in that grade did indeed have one, and 2. My sister is deaf. When I found out my grade 9 math teacher smoked, I was shocked. Then I found out that the teacher's lounge was just a big smoking section within the school. They all smoked. My teacher, Ms. L, she had made joke on the LGBT people, and it was unacceptable. I still can't understand why could she said that words. A teacher pulled my hair while I was trying to help a friend do a math question, and the worst part is that when he asked her for help, she told him to look for me. Special ed teacher yelled at my friend with special needs instead of following his prescribed IEP. He's in private school now, doing much better. I lose respect of people in general when they lie, and, caught in their lies, they deny, backpedal, manipulate their way out. During singing she screamed, "Are you kidding me? That was absolutely heinous. Why don't you stop being so moody and actually try?" A teacher shouted at a kid for bringing in sweets for his blood sugar levels. She ate the sweets in front of them. They nearly died that day. Apparently the principal at my high school got fired right before I got there for saying the N-word, and he was white. No, you can't do that. I asked you to make a game, and you make a platformer? That's not a real game. Finance teacher heavily involved with an MLM kind of began to question her subject expertise after that. Him hitting a student because they didn't behave, respect and function as a role model equals instantly gone. We had a thing where you'd put up a post-it note about a current issue that matters to you. He took mine down. I never respected a teacher who knew less than I knew. This happened several times, even in college. When she told me she was going to see me in summer school for not finishing her assessment, I didn't go to summer school. I had a male teacher in university tell me women should go back to the kitchen. I hated that pose. Started dating a student the day after she graduated. Ike. She started Fortnite dancing, and that is very disappointing. Saying, "Are you immigrating?" "I'm a immigrant, Alan's with my parents." Me, "Hi, Mrs. How did you finish your essay?" "Because I'm the teacher and you're the students."